Okay, so I'm tired and hungry, so this video is gonna fucking suck. But there's something that needs to be said, and there's something that needs to be acknowledged. As American anime fans, we need to stop thinking that we fucking matter. We need to stop thinking that there is some sort of, clout that we have in the industry. Because let me tell you something. We don't. Yes, there are many sales, we buy a bunch of Blu-rays, we stream everything on Crunchyroll and Funimation and all that, and there's dubbing. There is a market here. Now, that is very well good and true. But let me tell you something. If you think that any show, and I mean any show except Devilman Crybaby being the one exception, because it was released intentionally by Netflix on an international platform because of the content inside of it. If you think any show is intended for an international or American audience that comes out of Japan, you're fucking wrong. You're just wrong. You're incorrect. Let me tell you why. So one show that I hear brought up a lot in this discussion, whenever people are like, oh my god, okay, no, we're going to go from the beginning. We're going to start from the fucking beginning. So, people go nuts, because, in the late 90s and early 2000s, fucking Toonami, Adult Swim or whatever, they picked up anime, and they started dubbing it and putting it on TV, and people were like, holy shit, you can watch anime not on bad internet sites and not have to buy $2,000 DVDs. And that's great, and you've got, this anime explosion in the West, but here's the thing. You gotta put that in perspective. Yes, there was an explosion of anime in the West. Yes, it is common now in the West for, basketball players and football players to be, fans of, Dragon Ball Z and shit. And, even other stuff, Steven Adams watches fucking One Piece. So, even there, you've got bigger stuff that is percolated into the mainstream. But, you get that explosion, but let me put that explosion in perspective for you. Anime in Japan had been a thing since the 1960s. Maybe even earlier than that. I don't know the exact, fucking date that Osamu Tezuka's shit started getting... I'm in my car, it's traffic, it's rush hour, I have to be in work in an hour, and I don't care if I'm off by a couple of years, you know what I mean. Anyway, Japan anime has been a thing. Anime was a thing in Japan for fucking 30 years, 40 years before it even became a thing in the West. Until 2000, anime was a niche interest in the US, and I mean niche interest. It was not something that you could fill up the Los Angeles Convention Center for once a year for 5 days like it is now. It was not even close to that. It is factors of magnitude bigger than it was then. It is factors of magnitude bigger than it was 10 years ago. If you compare, think about your local cons, think about your local conventions, and consider how much they have changed and they have grown in, the past 5 years. TaioCon in Mesa, Arizona, I went to TaioCon 5 years ago. It was fucking tiny. One room. They had one room. For, just the hotel. They put the artist hall in the hotel lobby, if I'm remembering correctly. So, you've got this tiny, run-of-the-mill hotel in Mesa, Arizona that's hosting one of Arizona's, 3 anime cons. And you think about now what Taio is, it's still not great, but it's bigger. It's a lot bigger, You have a lot more stuff going on. You have more voice actors, you have more panels, the artist hall is bigger. A bunch of cool stuff, friggin' Sabaton-Con's downtown now. Sabaton-Con did not used to be downtown, and now it is in one of these Richie Rich hotels, and it lasts 3 days, and it gets a good population. Sabo gets some bomb-ass guests. But all of this has to be framed in the perspective of this being the norm in Japan, what we're experiencing right now, being the norm in Japan for 30 years. What we're experiencing right now, if I'm going to venture a guess, is about as popular as anime was in, the 70s. So, 70s popularity in Japan is 2018 popularity in the US. I think that's accurate, giving like based off of how well certain shows have done, how well certain shows are remembered. I think that's probably accurate, and if it's not totally accurate, sue me. I don't know what to tell you. I just need to get this off my chest. Anyway, you need to keep this in perspective. And one thing that really infuriates me is whenever you have discussion surrounding shows like My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Whenever people are like, oh, this is clearly an international anime because it's clearly an American anime because America loves superheroes. We have Marvel, so if Japan was like, hey, let's make an anime that appeals to the West, we'll make one out of No, that's not what happened. My Hero Academia is a really successful manga. It runs in fucking Shonen Jump. It's a big deal, okay? Like, let me set that out for you right now. If it runs in Shonen Jump, it's likely a pretty big deal. And My Hero Academia does, and it has for a long time. It's a long-running manga. It's a shonen. And people are like, oh, it's made for the West. No. It's popular in Japan already. They're thinking of the Japanese audience. The American audience, the international audience that likes superheroes, I mean, that's a bonus. But, like, again, I just said international audience. Literally every fucking country has people who like superheroes. Liking superheroes, liking Marvel is not an American thing. That is not a thing that we exclusively do. Marvel is a worldwide phenomenon. DC is a worldwide phenomenon. Comic books have been a worldwide phenomenon. Like, fucking people of color invented comic books, okay? You fools? Like, okay, yes, they were living in America, but, like, they're not, like, the white comic book authors that we like to prop up today. That's just not how it was. Like, I don't even know fucking comic history, and I know enough to say that we severely whitewash who we decide to prop up in American, like, superhero media. So, like, just consider that. Like, this is an internet comic for, like, superheroes are an international thing. They were not making a superhero anime. They were not making a superhero manga because it appeals to America, because they have that wide demographic reach outside of Japan. Everyone in Japan fucking loves superheroes. You know, they've been doing Sentai shit since, like, the 60s, you know, or 70s or whatever. This is not a new thing. It's not a new, like, phenomenon that, like, America has brought in. So we really just need to stop pretending like it is. We need to stop, as audience goers and as anime watchers, thinking that we hold some sort of significant clout in the anime industry. Like, yes, international Blu-ray sales are great. Cherry on top. But the vast majority of your Blu-ray sales are coming in Japan. You know why? Because in America, we can just stream the shit. In Japan, you can just stream the shit. You know, you have more hardcore fans over there. And it's more easily accessible. It's probably cheaper as well. But, like, in America, you don't need to buy a series in order to really cherish it, because, like, you can spend a bunch of money on it anyway. Whereas in Japan, people get a lot more hardcore into their shows than we do. You know, that's even why we have the term otaku, and, like, you have shit like Comic Head, which is, like, independent. That's off topic, but, like, you have more of a commerce there. There's more of an economy there. There's a market here, but, like, over there, it's massive. Like, it's culturally phenomenal. You don't see like Evangelion trains in America, because, you know, despite how widespread and how widely acclaimed Evangelion is in the Western audience, you don't have, like, fucking Gundam trains or whatever. You don't have a Gundam statue in Universal Studios Los Angeles or whatever. You just don't have that, because it's not as popular here as it is over there, and it's not even close. Like, there's never ever been any consideration for, like, appreciation of a show to that magnitude. Like, it's just frustrating, because we think as Americans that the entire world revolves around us, and that the entire world is catering to our desires and our demands, and especially with something that is fucking Japanese in nature, intended for a Japanese audience, made mostly by Japanese people. It is really annoying to see people constantly be like, I think this was made for America. Because it's not.